Do you know an artist or a friend that is interested in creating dynamic illustrations for children? Or do you know an author or even a friend that's interested in knowing why literary agents are important? We have 2 more workshops for you today. So let them know, check your contact list, call every author, every editor, every illustrator, and let them know that we are here to give them insights on every single thing that they need to know. Do not forget to use the hashtag Akada Festival. Here is Tolu Shofule to talk to us about creating dynamic illustrations for children's books. Dear participants, dear illustrators, let us watch.
Tolu Shofule is an illustrator, an author, a creative designer, and a publisher of children's books. With a background in architecture, illustrations, and character animation, Tolu brings a wealth of experience and freshness to the projects he is involved in. He is deeply passionate about producing quality and relevant contents for children that will in turn impact and empower them in a positive way. Over the years, Tolu has had the pleasure of working on a myriad of projects ranging from children's books, merchandise, and interactive games. Please welcome Tolu as he facilitates this professional workshop titled Creating Dynamic Illustrations for Children's Books.
Illustration plays a very important role in the world of children's book. It helps children to relate to the context of the story. When a child wants to read or learn, they find it easier to understand what they're reading if the book has pictures in it. It helps them, as in the illustrations, helps them to relate to the story easily. Hi, my name is Tolu Shofule, and I am an author, an illustrator, a creative designer, and a children's picture book publisher. And I am based in London, United Kingdom. Welcome to the 3rd edition of Akada Children's Book Festival, creating dynamic illustrations for children's book. With over 20 years of experience, I have had the privilege to work with publishing houses, both big, medium-sized, and small. I have helped to create fantastic illustrations, dynamic illustrations for various projects ranging from books, from posters, from children's merchandise, etc. So, what do we mean by dynamic illustrations in children's picture book? Are we trying to make things complex? Are we trying to confuse the reader? Or are we trying to incorporate some secret code into our work? Or is it even rocket science? No! Let's start by defining what we mean by dynamic. So I've gone on to Google to dig up some definitions. And here are my findings. Dynamic, of a process or system, characterized by constant change, activity, or progress. So, for example, a dynamic political scene. And here is another example which relates to a person. Positive in attitude and full of energy and new ideas. So an example is a dynamic young girl. So from the definition, how can we then incorporate that into our illustration? Creating dynamic illustration is just a way of infusing our illustrations with life and energy, thus making our illustrations come alive and creating a rich and an engaging experience for the reader the parents, adults, and the teachers. So in order for us to achieve our objective of creating this dynamic illustration, there are some fundamentals that we need to look at. And here they are. Number one, facial expressions. Okay, so when you're drawing your character, how does your character react to the person they are talking to, their environment? How do you project the mood of your character on paper? So facial expression is very vital. Next is body language. Okay, is your character happy, or is he or she sad? You need to be able to use the body of your character to express what your character is feeling at that very particular point in time. We also have perspective. Where is your character placed? You need to be able to create an environment that your character sits in properly, just for us to have an understanding of what is going on in the environment. Another thing to consider is the point of view. Okay, so from what angle are we looking at what is happening on the page? Okay, in your illustration, are we looking at the scenario take place from the top, from the eye level, or from below the eye level? You need to be able to show this in your illustration because it is very important. Environment plays a very crucial role as well. What is going on in the environment that your character is in? Okay, is your character outside or is it inside? So if it's inside, is it in the sitting room or in the bedroom? So things like this are very important. If it's in the room, you show the bed, the furniture. If it's in the sitting room, then yes, you show the TV. If there's a TV, you show the chairs and all other things that make up the sitting room. The last but not the least, interesting color palettes. You can also use colors to show dynamism in your illustration because they help to create moods, especially if you have like a sunset. Colors like orange, yellow, brown, they help to set the tone of the scene. And if it's like a winter or a snowy environment, colors like blue, green, white helps to define the mood and also the scenario or the scene your character is in. So where do we get inspiration if we're to create dynamic illustrations? For me as a person, I go onto the internet. I check Google, especially for instance, if I'm looking for somebody running, I go on Google and I do a search. I put in the keyword running, man running, boy running, character running, and then whatever Google comes up with, I'm able to then use as reference for my work. Another source is nature and our surrounding. Nature is full of various examples. When you go out, you go down your street, you see how people are interacting, they're walking to and fro. You can get a thing or two from there. You know, you go to the park, as in my case, sometimes if I want to draw trees, I go to the park, I look at the trees, I look at the colors, the shades, you know, the characteristics. Another source of inspiration is ourselves. Okay, you can, if you want to capture a particular expression, facial expression, you can use a mirror. Just put the mirror in front of you and you can do the funny facial expressions, maybe like laughter, or when you're sad or something. Or you can use your camera. If you've got a smartphone that has a camera, you can use that. Just create the facial expression, maybe a sad face, take the picture. Or if it's like a laughter, maybe your character is laughing, ha ha ha, just take the picture, and that will serve as a good source of inspiration. Other sources of inspirations are books, magazines, media, and what I mean by that, TV, video, and you can also learn from experienced illustrators, those who have already had their works published in children's books. Here we have a scene from our ongoing picture book project that involves Wale and his sister. And the story is about their visit to their grandma's house. In this scene here that you can see, the two of them were trying to escape the wind. They were trying to avoid the wind carrying them away, so they had to run into grandma's house. And in the process, Shaliwa ended up slamming the door that shook everything in the house, including grandma's finest china wares. So here, as you can see, Wale trying to save the china wares, even grandma's special mug, which unfortunately he wasn't able to do. So the next scene now, I'm going to show him with the sister, afraid, sad, because grandma's sacred or special mug, is broken. And for a project like this, you have to familiarize yourself with the story. I've worked on the story. I understand the characters, their expressions, their movements, body language. And these are things that we've discussed earlier that are important, for us to convey the right mood, to convey the right message, to our reader, because after all, we want to give them a rich, engaging experience. So we have to use all these things. We have to incorporate all these things into our illustration. So I'm going to be working on the next page, okay? And as I said to you, I've already done the research. I understand my characters. So here I'm going to be doing the demo on my Wacom Cintiq tablet. I've used this over the years. I've gotten used to it, and you don't have to use this. You can follow along using a pen, and a paper. In fact, ideas flow more, when you use pencil and paper. So, but I'm used to this. I've been using this over the years. So here I'm going to be working on the next scene. And what I want to establish first is the point of view, sort of like what you would say is the camera angle. So I start by kind of like drawing the room, because if you look at the other illustration, the page before, you can see that it's tilted a bit, and that is also part of the dynamism we're trying to incorporate into our work. So, but here, because the door is shut now, and the effect of the wind is less pronounced, the perspective that I'm going to use here is not going to be tilted, but sort of like the right way up, okay? Because now we want to concentrate on the characters, not so much the surrounding, okay? So I start that by first just trying to establish the perspective view. Okay. So you start, roughly. Okay. There's no need for you to be too detailed, because when you're using a tool like this, it gives you the flexibility to be able to so when you're using a tool like this, it just gives you the flexibility to be able to make mistakes, and then get back on track. So I've established sort of like the perspective view that I want to use, and now I need to incorporate the characters. So I'll start by creating a new layer. Oops, I've done 2 layers here. Okay, so we've got, if you look at the image again, we've got Wale. So Wale kind of is, because I mean, you can look, you can see his head. It looks as if it's big, but you just bear with me. You will see what I'm trying to achieve. What I'm trying to achieve here. Okay, so as you can see from the illustration that I'm doing, I'm just trying to establish some forms. Like for instance, the perspective. I've got Wale on the floor trying to reach for the broken mug. Grandma's special broken mug. I've got the sister in the background also sort of like really gasping. Okay. So once we've sort of like gotten the perspective, then we start working on the character to sort of like, establish some forms, and start telling our story. Okay, because even we as illustrators, we do tell stories with our illustrations. So it's not only the text. Okay, so we've got Wale there, and I've got the sister Shalewa in the background, sort of like covering her mouth and looking. And peeping rather from behind. So we've got her, just draw her. So all of this you can do on with a pencil and a paper. It's just that, I've been using this Wacom tablet, and it makes it very easy for me to experiment, try things out. I mean, I don't have to really go into too much details. So it's just for me to establish the form. Am I okay? Am I happy with the way things are? So from what I've done here, yeah, I am happy with that. So we then now move on to Grandma's, the broken mug. So I think maybe I can do that on another layer. Yeah, because working with layers, it just makes it easy. You can move things around, you know. But on your paper, I mean, if you're using pen and pencil and paper, you know, just have your eraser with you. So if you're not happy with the way you've placed something, you can just erase it. This is just a quick sketch, really, to just establish, you know, forms, you know, to get the point of view, perspective, things right. You don't dive in straight away, you know, and start fleshing out the details. Start with a rough bit, okay? So that once you're happy with the perspective, you're happy with the posing of the characters, then yeah, you can then start incorporating the details. So you can start refining, okay, the illustration. So here we have grammars broken. Yeah, I think I need to put in more details and make it like, yeah, show that, yeah, it's really, really damaged. Okay. Okay, so just got the mug and with the broken handle here. So okay, yeah, so that's kind of like the broken handle. Let me just change the, okay, and the bits where it's broken away from the mark. So yeah, okay, so as you can see, I've sort of like established the shot, okay, so I can then now, I mean, because this are the key elements of the illustration that we're working on. And now we can then sort of like move on to all the other bits, like for instance, the cabinet, the window, the door, and any other thing that we want to incorporate, maybe like the broken plates, the broken chinaware. So once we've got this, so I'll start putting in the cabinet, grandma's wooden cabinet. Because Wale was able to save this from falling down, but unfortunately, he couldn't save all the plates. So okay. So here, as you can see, this is also, we're incorporating the perspective element into we're incorporating perspective element. So we're not just drawing it face on. So, and here we've got the shelves. So work on the shelves. Oops. Okay. Yeah. That's the beauty of, you know, using a tool like this. So if you make a wrong move, you can always undo it and then make it rhyme. And you can also do it with your pencil and your paper and eraser. Okay. So once we've got that, we've got the shelf. And that's kind of like the perspective view. So we've got that. And then we can put the door in the background, because that just, it sits our characters down. It's really part of the scene. But it's not major. I can actually get away without incorporating it. But it's good to have it there. Right, okay. So now we've got our scene. We've got Wale trying to reach for the broken mug. We've established the form of Shalewa in the background. As you can see, she's got her hands over her mouth. Now we want to start incorporating more details, especially the facial expressions. And we'll start with Wale's. So we go back to the layer Wale is on, and okay. So just do, because obviously Grandma's mug is broken and it's a special mug. Obviously the expression on Wale's face will be that of fear, So we've got the eyes, bulgy eyes, and got the nose. And then we've got the mouth. So yeah. So yeah. So you can see you can see the expression, okay? So is that kind of like creating that dynamism we've been talking about? And you can see the mouth as well, showing that, he's in trouble. Okay, so that's the ears. So okay, so that's that. And now, for Wale, what we can now do to finish off the bit on Wale is then just draw the hand, the fingers, trying to reach out and pick up the pieces. There you go. So we've got his hand reaching out. Okay. Trying to reach for the broken mug. Okay. So as far as Wale is concerned, we're pretty much there, in just trying to get that first phase of the illustration to establish all these things all the fundamentals of what makes a dynamic illustration. So we'll then move on to Shalewa, and the same thing, the same treatment goes for her, in the sense that she too is sad, she's afraid. So yes, we give her big bulgy eyes. because this is also what is going to tell us the feeling that she is going through at present. So just zoom in a bit more. So just zoom in a bit more. Once we do it, we get that, we get the thing, and then work on the fingers. Okay. So we then work on the fingers just to sort of help us show what Shalewa is going through. And her expression is like, oh dear, so what have we done? And as I said, okay, this is not the final refined work, okay? Because for you to incorporate everything that we've discussed so far, you have to test things out. You have to try things. You can't just, hey, here's the paper, and just go straight and dive in. You really have to build things up gradually until you get to the desired destination, if I might say that. So there you go. So here, so I'm not particularly worried about the details at this time, or her dress, the way it is. What I'm just trying to establish here, the expressions, the pose, point of view, because even for me, as it is like this, I'm happy to sort of like stand back and have a look at what we've been able to achieve. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, so there we have it. We have the mark, the expression on Wale's face, and even the one on Shalewa as well. And then we have the surrounding, the perspective, just to sort of like sit our characters down so that they're not like floating in the air. Okay. So yeah, there you go. I'm happy with this. And then the last thing is maybe just to have some broken plates, round bits, pieces, scattered, scattered pieces all around, Okay, so I'm happy with where we've gotten to so far. At least we've been able to create the point of view, incorporate perspective, and then also we've touched on the facial expression, the body language. As you can see, Shalewa grasping, with her hands on her face, So, and the mug on the floor and things, all the bits and pieces on the floor. So here we are. Okay. So now we've got a rough layout of our illustration. This is good enough for me to send over to the author to get their feedback. So once we've gotten the feedback and we've incorporated the changes, then yes, we can then go to the final rendering. But for now, this is really good. Here are some examples of work that I've done in the past that shows some of the fundamentals that we have discussed so far. Things like facial expression, body language, perspective, environment, etc. So in this example of the father eating his evening meal, you can see how I have used the facial expression and also perspective and also the point of view. For this example, in order to achieve the dynamism that we're looking for, you can see what the two boys are doing. There's one of them jumping and the other one is on the bed, and you can see how the papers are flying all around. It just creates something fun for the reader to see or even to talk about. With this example, here I've used colors. So as I've said earlier, that apart from facial expression, body language, perspective, you can also use color, to show the dynamism. Here, in this one here, we have the perspective coming into play. We have the facial expression of the gentleman as well. And you can see how I've used colors to sort of like determine the mood of the illustration. For this example, this is just a simple sketch of a happy boy who is happy, excited, and you can see how I've drawn the arms out wide, his eyes closed, and he's got a smile, or should I say he's laughing, and then the whole body structure, you can see he's jumping. So those are things that you can infuse into your illustration to give it life. For this example, we have the mother and child. So here, facial expression, body language comes into play. You can see the mother, how the mother's eyes are, how she's looking, at her daughter, and then her daughter as well, looking up to the mother with that sad expression on her face. In this example, we have used perspective, body language, point of view, and I've also used different shades of the gray color to create the mood, to create the glow as well. And on the side of the illustration, you can see the picture that I took, because I had to take the picture of myself because I really couldn't get the angle. I couldn't draw the fingers right, which is what I said earlier, that if you're not sure or you don't know how to go about something, use a mirror or take a picture of yourself, okay? Creating that pose. I believe basic artistic skills are very important. You need to have a flair for illustration, because that is what is going to help when you're practicing. You have to have the passion for it. You have to be interested in it. And once you've taken care of those bits, what is left for you is just to practice and practice. Nobody is born perfect. You have to practice. I did. I practiced a lot. And that is how I got to the stage I'm at the moment. Do you mean as in writer's block? Well, for creative block, what I tend to do is I get away from everything. I get away from my monitor, I get away from the story, and either I take a walk or maybe just go and sit down and watch TV or maybe watch a cartoon program. And then I can use that to sort of like wind down, re-energize myself, and then come back and start again. Give myself 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'll come back to it. So that usually helps me. A very interesting question. Well, I don't have a favorite illustration. Each illustration I produce, I put my all into it. So what I can say to that question, or how I can answer that question, is that each illustration gets better the more I progress. So it's not a case of, oh, I've done something maybe like 5 years ago and it's still better than what I've done now. No. Each step of the way, I get better. And so I would just say that the latest illustration that I've done is what I will count as my favorite. That is kind of like a tough question to answer, because here the question says continually reject it or reject your work. My process is that I always make sure I carry the client along with me when I'm doing their work. It's not that I will go away and come back and give them the work. So it is very important to make sure you carry the client, the author whose book you're illustrating, you carry them along with you each and every step of the way, thereby eliminating frequent rejection. Once you do something, you quickly show it to the client. Do you like it? Are there any changes you want to make? Shall we progress? Those are the sort of questions you need to ask. And when you do that, you will eliminate or reduce rejection. Right. Well, I do this by keeping myself up to date. Most of the softwares that I use, I go to the vendors, go to their website, check out the latest updates. And even on the internet, when I see fellow illustrators' works, I look at it and it's like, if I've got the tool, if I like the style and I've got the tool, then I'll jump on my system and then I'll practice as well. So I keep myself updated by going online, seeing other people's work, going to my vendors or software providers' website and get the latest tools. Thank you for your time. I hope you've been able to learn one or two things from what we've discussed so far, and even from the demo I hope some things, what we've been discussing, have come to light. And my belief is that you will be able to then take these things, put them into your illustrations so that you can make your illustrations come to life. If you'd like to know more about me and find out more about my ongoing project, please visit www.tolushofule.art, and on the social media, which is king nowadays, you can get me on Instagram at Tolu Shofule, on Twitter at Tolu Shofule, on Facebook at Tolu Shofule. Thank you and bye for now.
The Akada Children's Book Festival.
Thank you so much, Tolu Shofule, for this insightful session. I have learned that you can make children's books more interesting, add life and energy to it through colors, facial expressions, and points of view. What did you learn from this session? Don't be scared to share. Tell me, because I just told you mine. Don't forget to use the hashtag Akada Festival.
Hello, I'm Olubunmi Aboderin-Talabi. I'm a children's picture book author, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my book, Toby Bakes a Cake. It came out last year, 2020, yes, during the lockdown. We did an online book launch for it, and I would say it was fairly successful. The book is a firm favorite with kids, and it was quite popular during the lockdown because we had something called the baking challenge. And we had families do something together while everybody was at home, and it was in the initial stages of the lockdown when people were still quite apprehensive and unsure about what was going on. So I guess having something to distract attention and occupy the whole family was welcome, which is why I guess the book had such a good reception. So the book is about a little girl called Toby, and she has a big brother called Dari. And Dari passes his driving test, and Toby wants to do something nice for Dari, so she asks her dad to show her how to bake a cake, which he does, and they put together this impromptu cake, and then unfortunately they forget about the timer and the cake gets burnt, but then Mummy comes to the rescue and they all live happily ever after. So it's a fun book, great, easy to read, early reader, children's picture book. And it has some activities at the back like coloring and a puzzle and so on and so forth. So you can get this book from cleverclogsbooks.com, and it's also available on the akadafestival.org ebook store.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. Tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes.
Last year, due to the pandemic, we couldn't have this festival physically, so we had it online. This year, we're having the festival online again, reaching out to all our book lovers across the globe and providing a platform for seasoned, new or self-published African authors and illustrators of children's books to showcase their amazing work to the world. It's encouraging to have this festival happen despite all the challenges we've been facing. And we would like to say a big thank you to all our participants, the supporters, partners, speakers, volunteers, and staff that has made this a reality. Post screenshots and pictures of your Akada Children's Book Festival so far. We would really love to see that, as we love and we work with feedback. We understand the need to keep listening and sharpening your learning, which is why this workshop will be available for another 3 months, exclusively for those who registered though. When your session is over, please visit the virtual edition stand, browse through the ebooks, and buy lots of books. Also, check out our art gallery and please give us your feedback. We could not have this year's festival without the support of our sponsors, our amazing sponsors, supporters, and partners.
We would like to say a big thank you to the British Council, Stanbic IBTC, Tanko, Cloud Studio, Zolene's Kitchen, Safari Fitness, Supreme Education Foundation School, Wazobia FM, Footsteps School, Dugo, Eden Life, and Punch Newspaper.
Publishers, editors, artists, and writers. Have you heard about Akane? Akane is the Association of Children's Authors and Illustrators of Nigeria. It's a community for professionals who create content for children. You can find out more about Akane by sending an email to hello@akane.ng or follow the association's handles at Official Akane on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Remember to download the Clever Clocks app from Google Play Store. This app is perfect for children aged 2 to 6. It teaches them how to tell the time, colors, and shapes. Woo. From time to time, free books are also added too. And after the festival is over, check out the Clever Clocks app and give us your feedback, please, so we can make it better.
In the morning, we're happy. In the evening, we're happy. All the time, we're happy. I'm H-A-P-P-Y, I'm happy. Oh, I got a reason to be happy. Oh, I sing this song to make you happy. Oh, and when you see me, you'll be happy. My heart is ready for you happy. Oh, I got a reason to be happy. I sing this song to make you happy. Oh, and when you see me, you'll be happy. My heart is where you find my happy. Oh, I got a reason to be happy. I sing this song to make you happy. And when you see me, you'll be happy. My heart is where you find my heart is where you find my happiness. So big, so wide, it's such a happy place. My heart is where you find my happy place. So big, so wide, it's such a happy place. Happy, oh, I sing this song to make you happy. And when you see me, you'll be happy. My heart is where you find my happy. I got a reason to be happy. I sing this song to make you happy. And when you see me, you'll be happy. My heart is where you find my happy.
Hello, my name is Oni Oluwaseyi and I'm a fine artist. I had my first degree from Ahmadu Bello University Zaria and a master's degree from the Institute of African Studies, University of Ibadan. And I want to briefly talk about the kind of work I do. So a summary of the kind of work I do centers on family, beauty, and society. So my process also involves research into areas that are of concern to me. About the Akada Festival 2020 online gallery. From the previous exhibition that took place online, you could visit the Akada website and then visit the online art gallery, and from there you could see art from professional artists, from children who also participated in the exhibition, and you could reach out to them. If you see anything you like, you can also make a purchase by reaching out to the artist. We also had the illustration competition that happened last year as well, and we had 5 finalists, and Kenma Dozie came top from the selection of 5 from 4 judges, and her work centered around, for me, it was about working with people and supporting them in sharing your goals and your dreams and using your God-given talent to light up the world. And the theme for last year was Light Up the World, Share Your Story. And her work actually captured everything we were looking at for a winner. So this year, I'm encouraging you and inviting you to participate. If you are an artist, whether a professional artist, a beginner, or a child, or your parent, and you see that your child has a talent, you could participate in this exhibition for free.